The world laughed when a barefooted Indian prophet walked out of the forest. But no one laughed when he mentioned one name, Ibrahim Traoré. And what he said next made even generals tremble. They said he was mad. They said he lived alone in the high hills of Uttarakhand, in a hidden cave where even birds hesitated to perch. The villagers called him Brahman Jyoti, the light of the spirit. He spoke only when the wind whispered. And when he did, nations listened. Because every word he ever spoke came to pass. In 2014, he predicted the fall of a powerful Western leader. In 2017, he whispered the name of a virus long before it appeared. In 2020, he claimed a great spiritual warrior would rise from the red soil of Africa. But no one understood until now. On a rain-drenched morning, before a silent crowd of pilgrims, the Indian prophet stood with trembling hands and said, "A lion shall rise in the land of Faso. He shall wear no crown, but kings will kneel. He shall be hated by the empires, feared by the wicked, and protected by thunder not yet born. His name shall shake the corridors of the West." Ibrahim Traoré. There was silence. People gasped. "Who is this Ibrahim?" they asked. But no one knew. Until Burkina Faso caught fire. Until a young soldier, barely 35, stepped forward not with weapons, but with truth in his mouth and Africa in his heart. Until Ibrahim Traoré defied France, challenged America, and exposed the silent colonization no one dared to name. The Indian prophet, now near death, was visited by journalists who traveled from Delhi to seek answers. His eyes were closed. But when they whispered "True" into his ears, his lips moved. Yes, the one. They will try to kill him. Many times. But the bullets shall bend. Because he is not just a man. He is prophecy. Shock swept India. Government officials ordered the video to be banned. The footage was deleted across Indian media. But one journalist smuggled it out onto the dark web. And there, the full prophecy was revealed. He shall unite what they divided. He shall awaken lions that forgot how to roar. They will call him dictator, but in secret they will bow. A warrior not sent by blood, but by spirit. The empire shall fear his silence more than 1,000,000 guns. And when the sky turns red and the drums return, the world will see. The boy from Faso was always the storm. The prophecy exploded online. Millions across India, Africa, and even South America began to ask, is Ibrahim Traoré protected by divine forces? Experts from Israel tried to debunk the prophecy. Western newspapers called it mystical nonsense. But strange things kept happening. A missile launched at his convoy vanished midair. French troops reported vision loss when attempting to ambush his motorcade. An African elder from Mali claimed that the spirits of Sankara and Lumumba had returned in the body of Traoré. And then, the prophet spoke once more. Just days before his death, he was recorded saying, "When the snake of the sea joins hands with the lion of the land, the earth shall tremble. Tell the man in Faso, the time has begun. His voice shall reach where armies cannot." The next day, a massive earthquake struck the Indian Ocean. Unusual seismic energy moved toward the African coast. But Burkina Faso? Untouched. Not a single vibration. Locals in Ouagadougou claimed they saw something strange. At midnight, the stars formed the image of a lion roaring westward. The Vatican issued a quiet inquiry into the Indian prophecy. Chinese mystics requested the full transcript. And in America? One congressman publicly asked, "Is Ibrahim Traoré just a political figure, or something more?" Back in India, the villagers of Uttarakhand built a shrine around the prophet's cave. They say the last words etched on the wall, written in sacred ink, were, "Africa's fire cannot be colonized. Ibrahim is the firekeeper." So now the question remains, who really is Ibrahim Traoré? Just a revolutionary? Just a soldier? Or the man chosen by spirit, born in silence, rising in fire, and destined to awaken an entire continent? Because if the Indian prophet was right, then the world has no idea what's coming next. And what this prophet said, it doesn't just shock you to the bone. It changes everything. They thought the prophecy ended. But the Indian mystic left behind something even more terrifying. A second scroll. One so powerful, so dangerous, that it was hidden from the world for over a year. Until now. After the death of the mysterious Indian prophet known as Brahman Jyoti, the world believed his warnings were complete. The prophecy of Ibrahim Traoré had already shaken the foundations of geopolitics. Africa had begun to rise. France was bleeding influence. Western powers were scrambling to contain what they could no longer control. But they missed something. Hidden in the walls of his cave, behind sacred tapestries and symbols only a few understood, lay a second manuscript. A darker, more urgent prophecy. Not just about Ibrahim Traoré, but about the future of the entire Western world. It was discovered by a young monk. He brought it to Delhi. And within days, India's intelligence community locked it away under what they called Code Red, Traoré Scroll 2. Yet one line was leaked. One single chilling line. When the lion refuses the leash, the empires shall begin to devour themselves. Panic set in. The CIA requested translations. MI6 began tracking underground African spiritual leaders. Even the UN held a closed-door meeting to discuss the rise of spirit-based insurgencies. But the second prophecy was never about bullets. It was about time. In the ancient Sanskrit script of the scroll, the prophet wrote, "There shall come a man from the old kingdoms of iron and dust. His eyes shall reflect the sorrows of 100 tribes. And when he speaks, rivers shall turn, mountains shall bow, and false kings shall choke on their crowns. He shall not seek the throne shall seek him." And then came the name again, Traoré. But what followed next was terrifying. The West shall not fall by invasion. It shall fall by blindness. It will mock the lion. It will label him a rebel, a rogue, a savage. And in doing so, it will open a wound it cannot close. The prophecy continues with apocalyptic precision. Storms will move backwards. The eagle shall forget how to fly. And the bear shall lie down at the lion's feet. The world will be reset, not by war, but by the awakening of memory. And Africa, the forgotten mother, shall remember her children. That's when historians stepped in. Because buried in ancient Indian Vedic texts, there are whispers of the fifth fire. A spiritual reckoning led not from Asia, not from Europe, but from the core of the earth, Africa. And the scroll declares, when Traoré touches the soil of 7 nations, the drums shall call the wind, lightning shall write his name in the clouds, and every empire built on chains shall sink. Now here's where it gets disturbing. Several months after this scroll was unearthed, lightning struck a U.S. surveillance satellite directly above West Africa. A mysterious signal jammed French military comms across the Sahel. And in Burkina Faso, elders claimed to have seen visions of golden serpents turning into dust whenever Traoré passed. Is this just coincidence? Or is something bigger moving beneath the surface of politics? According to the final pages of the scroll, there is a date. A countdown. The prophet wrote, "The lion has 900 days. 900 to awaken what was broken. If he succeeds, the earth shall breathe. If he fails, darkness will flood the rivers of man." As of today, over 300 days have passed. That leaves less than 600 days. So what happens then? Another section, decoded only recently, mentions a great betrayal. One with the lion's blood will offer him a poisoned handshake. He must not drink, for if he does, the gates will close forever. This has sparked global theories. Is the West planning a trap disguised as diplomacy? Is an African leader being primed to betray the movement from within? The mystics' writings also mention a woman, one with fire in her eyes and thunder in her voice. She will stand beside the lion when the sky cracks open. Her words will disarm armies. Her pain shall become his sword. Many speculate this woman is yet to emerge, perhaps a prophetess, an African revolutionary, or an exiled voice returning to the continent. But the last paragraph is what truly shook intelligence agencies around the globe. It reads, "In the end, when the drums rise and the winds scream the old names, the boy they ignored shall walk alone, but he shall not fall. For he walks with all who came before him. The ancestors march in his breath. The chains they forged will melt in his footsteps. And he shall not conquer. He shall restore. Ladies and gentlemen, this is no longer just about politics. It's no longer just about Ibrahim Traoré. It's about a global spiritual war that is waking up in the bones of the earth. From India's forests to Africa's rivers, from ancient temples to modern revolutions, the lion is not rising alone. And if the second prophecy is true, the collapse of the West has already begun. Not by bombs, not by war, but by something far more powerful. The first prophecy warned us. The second shook the powers of the earth. But the third was never meant to be read aloud. And now that it's been found, it may already be too late. For centuries, the cave in the Indian Himalayas was sealed with sacred ashen markings only decipherable by yogis and monks of the old bloodlines. But 2 weeks ago, an earthquake split the mountain open. Inside, behind a wall of fossilized skulls and iron symbols, a third scroll was uncovered. Unlike the others, this one was scorched, marked with red sigils, as if it had tried to resist being read. It was wrapped in lion fur, though there are no lions in that region. And across the front, in ancient Sanskrit and coded Fulani script, it read, "The final warning, to be read only when the storm arrives." The storm, that storm is not just political. It is spiritual, cosmic, inevitable. When the scroll was translated, panic erupted across global intelligence networks. The Indian government immediately issued a Level 5 blackout. The U.S. National Security Agency, NSA, sent emergency delegates to Tel Aviv, Paris, and Berlin. The Pope was briefed at midnight, and a G7 emergency meeting was held behind closed doors, without a single word to the media. Because this third prophecy names names. It exposes dates, strategies, and even hidden technologies used by empires to manipulate the world. But most chilling of all, it doesn't just mention Ibrahim Traoré. It calls him by a name never used before. He who carries the memory of the earth. According to the final scroll, Traoré is not just a man. He is a vessel, a carrier of ancient codes buried in African DNA, codes that Western powers have long tried to erase through war, poverty, and mind control. They will call him terrorist, rebel, antichrist. But the sky will know him. The animals will protect him. And the earth will open for him. The scroll continues. The empires shall create disasters and blame the lion. They will unleash false storms, burn forests, poison waters, and accuse the lion of chaos. But when they do, the earth shall reject their deception. Volcanoes shall awaken. Oceans shall retreat. The wind will no longer obey their commands. Yes, commands. The scroll accuses Western superpowers of harnessing geoengineering tools to control weather, trigger droughts, and simulate earthquakes. It describes something ancient African seers once spoke of. The silent war, a war fought with invisible tools unseen by eyes, but felt in the bones of the poor. And in the final hour, the scroll says, "The sky shall speak." 3 nights ago, villagers in southern Burkina Faso filmed strange lights spelling the word Tenna in the clouds. No aircraft, no drones, just light. Spiritualists believe this is the trigger. Tenna, an ancient Bambara word meaning it begins. And now, the final pages. What made the Pope tremble? What made NATO hold an unscheduled cyber briefing? What even the Indian government refused to comment on? The Western crown will fall in daylight. The symbol of false freedom shall fracture on a Tuesday. When 3 birds land at the lion's feet, the world shall be rewired. The lion will bleed once, but will not die. His blood will open the final gate, and the ancestors shall pour out. Then, silence. The scroll ends with one word, etched in blood, not ink. Reclaimed. What does it mean? Some believe it signals the end of colonial dominion, not through war, but through spiritual reset. Others think it's a warning that Africa is about to become the center of a new world order, and Traoré is the ignition. But the most terrifying interpretation? That the gate spoken of is real. Somewhere in the Sahel, Elders speak of a cosmic door, buried beneath sacred ground, only opened once in human history. It was closed during the fall of Nubia. Now, they say, Traoré carries the vibration to unlock it. And if that happens, the scroll doesn't promise peace. It doesn't promise revenge. It promises balance and the destruction of everything that is not aligned with truth. Empires will fall. Skyscrapers will crack. Currencies will die. Artificial power will burn. And the lion? He will walk alone. But the earth will follow him. Is this the final prophecy? Or is there more buried in silence? Some whisper of a fourth prophecy hidden not in India, but in Mali, written not by man, but by spirit possession, encoded in drums that haven't been played in over 600 years. And it said the drums are waking up. So if you thought the world was ready for Traoré, you haven't seen anything yet. Because this is no longer politics. This is cosmic warfare. And if the lion opens that final gate, human history will never be the same.